Hey, this is Amazon Jude coming to you from Casper. I was looking at some of the headlines today, and the diversion is, MSN starts out with Main Street Media, and that was the New York Crimes. Big headlines. Mueller has letter of Trump's about Comey's firing, and then you read down about a half a paragraph. Well, we haven't actually seen the letter, but we know this is in it, and we know that's in it, but we can't prove it. Okay, the diversion on that. Comey wrote a letter back in May dismissing all charges against Hillary, the crime, Clinton, and he hadn't even interviewed 17 of the witnesses that they were going to use to do the investigation. Well, the whole damn thing's a farce, and it's falling apart. The point is, whether Trump fired him over the Russian ordeal, I don't think so. I think he fired him over Clinton's deal because he knew Clinton was a crook. And he knew, just by, watching the Senate hearings, you would know she was a goddamn liar. And she lied, I don't know how many times under oath about Benghazi. The bitch doesn't open her mouth without it being a fucking lie. How many people can crush 13 iPhones and computers and all of that was already subpoenaed by the congressional hearing committees, and delete 33,000 emails and not get charged for obstruction of justice? See, so there's no way Comey could wiggle out from under this one. He is busted big time. And the fact that Mueller's gone off the fucking rails and is now digging into supposed money laundering and all that shit, it's got nothing to do with the Russian deal. And if Rosenstein doesn't pull his ass in, Clinton President Trump, you're just going to have to take the bull by the horns and fire the whole goddamn FBI top 15 people. I suggested you do that the day you were elected, because the FBI is as corrupt as the CIA, and Pompeo hasn't fired anybody in the CIA that I've heard of or seen of. And we know there's quite a few of them over there. They were using that Project Hammer to spy on you, President Clinton or Trump, and all of your guys. How else would they have known Flynn was even talking to anybody? Those transcripts leaked out pretty quick. The whole thing stinks. The investigation by Mueller, Comey's deal with Hillary, and they're all trying to deflect it onto something else. Today's big headlines now is, oh no, the DACA program. You mean supporting and paying for education and all of their health care that are not legal citizens of the United States? They're called illegal. I don't care if you come over to this country and you poop out a fucking kid. It still don't make it a legal citizen of the United States. And it's high time we put an end to it. The fact remains that everything that Trump is trying to do, everything he said on the campaign trail, he is being obstructed by both Senates. He's being obstructed by the Democrats like nobody's business, and he's being backstabbed by the fucking establishment Republicans. And you know what? I don't have a use for 98 of them in Congress right now. To me, they're all part of the fucking swamp. And that goes as far as the FBI, the top 20 in those agencies, FBI, CIA, all the alphabet soup guys, they should all be canned too. Because we've had 40 years of corruption in the United States. And Trump is trying to fix that. But we have obstruction by every single establishment swamp creature in Washington and the media trying to fuck him at every turn. And it's time to put a stop to this. So they're diverting now. Instead of talking about the real crimes that Comey committed, they're all hung up on some stupid letter that Trump wrote as probably a draft. And then once it was seen by the lawyers, it had to be modified. Big fucking deal. The man needed fired anyway. He was incompetent. He was corrupt. He worked for Clinton Foundation. He's been connected to the Clintons for eons already. They had his nuts in a jar a long time ago. Everybody knows that. Moving on. Then we have some of your lame street media Those guys, they're like piss ants. You know, wherever the sugar lays, that's where they'll go. They don't even report news anymore. I can only count maybe 5 real reporters in the United States, and none of them work for a major network or a major newspaper. They're just little guys that work for small newspapers around the country that haven't been owned by the 5, 6 conglomerates that seem to own every news and radio station across America. Julian Assange said one time, "You guys over there in America, you have no idea how much the media hides from you." And I believe him 100%, because if you can get onto other countries' websites and read their news, that's reporting. And then compare it to what we're hearing in America. No wonder Americans are stupid when they go to the poll. All they remember is, oh, I heard that name somewhere, so I'll vote for him. Not knowing that, you know, he bilked somebody out of $1 million, or, you know, has donors paying for his ski trips. And, you know, the whole Washington elite is corrupt. 100% down to the bottom of the core. Hey, this is Jude coming to you from Casper. And going over some of the headlines this morning, and I just can't believe Lame Street Media is so stupid and so biased. Trump doesn't have to end the DACA program. It expires on September 30th. And it's not his job to fix Obama's illegal law. That's Congress's job to fix. And the first headline, DACA fix could overwhelm Congress. Well, if Congress can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, then I think we have over 100 stupid senators and, 435 stupid representatives in the House. Secondly, DACA was an illegal program to begin with. And what the Democrats and the mainstream media will not tell you is that these kids, they're all in their 20s and 30s. They're old enough now that they can, you know, go to do a legal pathway to stay in the United States. But also that it helps their parents stay in the United States. That was one of the big problems with DACA when it began, was that it also included their parents, which were illegal aliens. Okay, now where does this stop? You know, where does it stop? I mean, if somebody comes over tomorrow and brings 3 of their kids, what are they going to be covered under the DACA program too? I mean, where do you put the cutoff? You got to put the cutoff somewhere, and it's got to be cut off now. I would also probably attach the spending bill or some other large bill to this, so that Congress, since they're unable to walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, and they're under pressure to get this put together within the next 6 months, you know, and finally earn their wage. I mean, you got to remember, for the first 7 months of Trump's presidency, the Democrats haven't produced anything. They haven't done anything. They voted against everything, and they've spent a vast majority of that time on vacation. And it's time that they earn their paychecks for a change. And also, I think it's brilliant of President Trump to throw it right back to Congress to deal with, because that's where it should have been to begin with when Obama created this illegal law. I don't know why they all didn't get together and override the president on that, but that's something you need to ask your Democrat and your Republicans when they come home next time, is why didn't they stop it in the first place? I'm not buying all of this lame street media coming up with, oh, well, you know, they've been here for so long. Well, there's millions waiting in line to get into the United States, and they're willing to do it the legal way. So why should these guys get to step ahead of the program? I mean, we've already educated them. We've already paid for their food and their housing and their college education. They could go back home to Mexico too and make a living. You know, but they don't want to do that. They want to stay here, and they want to keep riding all the free programs, and that's not going to happen anymore. And Congress needs to step up to the plate and do their jobs, finally. And also the good thing about this is you're going to see who supports illegal executive orders. And a vast majority of them are going to be your Democrats. I see we already have a few GOPs breaking with Trump, but you know what? They were never really Trump supporters to begin with. So they're always going to give him shit. Take notice of their names, and if they're your senators or your representatives, then vote them out at the first opportunity that you can, because they're not doing the American public's business. They're doing their own business. Okay, secondly, you got Trump leaning towards ending DACA with 6-month delay. Okay, that's not Trump ending DACA. DACA ends on September 30th of its own demise. And unless Congress gets together and does something with it, it's a gone deal. And it's not Trump's baby. That belongs to the Congress, and that belongs to former President Obama. Okay, next, Schiff. Oh, Adam Schiff. There is a real loser. He has just been like, he's like a young Chuck Schumer. You know, both of them aren't worth a plug nickel between the two of them. And I think most people have figured that out. And hopefully, when his time comes up for voting, I think in 2022, that you guys smarten up and shit can that boy to the side. Next, let's talk about a little bit. Oh, here's a good one. Obama won't sit idly by if Trump ends DACA. What, does he still think he's president? I mean, really, the balls on this guy. They're as tiny as his ears. You know, he thinks he's still president. And, you know, for a hood rat that didn't have two nickels to rub together, you know, before he even ran for office, him and Michelle act like king and queen hood rat of the United States, and they're not. They're as important as my cat, whether it got neutered last week or not. That's how important he isn't. Let's see. Oh, they do the fact checking on Trump. Oh, this is wrong. What's his name didn't? His wife didn't. McCabe's wife didn't get 700,000, but she got 675,000. But because it wasn't exact numbers, they're calling Trump basically a liar. Let's see what else. Oh, Trump was right about Virginia. It wasn't just a Ku Klux Klan. It was a Tifa and Black Lives Matter, and those are the ones that were destroying everything. Now, I hate to be like this, but I'm going to say something, and it's going to probably upset a few people, but the KKK had a permit to be there, and Atifa didn't. And when Atifa showed up, and it's looking more and more like the cops rounded him to push towards each other for this fight. And I wouldn't doubt it. The senator down there, what is his name, McAfee, he likes controversy. He's another one that, you know, people down there in North Carolina, you guys really need to watch who you're voting into office. These guys think you're stupid and that you don't pay attention, and that you're going to continue to allow these wolves in sheep's clothing to go to Washington. Next one was Bernie Sanders and his single-payer system. Looks like that's not going to roll over too well with anyone. We know what single-payer has done. Remember when Bernie used to brag about Venezuela? Well, now they're paying $500 for a loaf of bread if they can find one, and standing in line trying to get just a roll of toilet paper. Venezuela is bankrupt. And it doesn't look like there's going to be anything good happening over there for a long time to go, or a long time to come. So then they'll probably hold up Canada's. I can remember Moore, and I hate this guy with no reservations. Moore and Canadians were coming over to America to get surgeries done because the waiting lists over there in Canada were so long to do any kind of surgery, let alone elective surgery. Like getting a hip replacement or anything like that. Those guys were just plumb, you know, shit out of luck. That was some of the headlines on that. Let's go over here to Twitter and see what's streamlining. DACA is throwing a fit. Defend DACA, defend DACA. Why the hell would we defend an illegal law? What could possibly be the reason that half of these congressmen Our lawyers, they know it was an illegal law. So why would President Trump defend an illegal law? He wouldn't. And we don't either. And the fact that the media is saying, oh, Trump is playing to his base. He's not playing to his base, honey. He's playing to the American people because that's who voted him in. Overwhelmingly, I might add. If you have a senator called Sheldon Whitehouse, you might want to think about him too. He's, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse. There's another one that needs to go. Guys, remember, there's 23 Democrat seats up for election in 2018. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little lost here. My cold is just driving me crazy. Anyway, Sheldon Whitehouse, and there's 23 seats open in the Democrat Party. 23 seats. Do you know what that could do? That could change Congress. To take even 10 of those seats would change Congress. And I suggest that don't just because they're an R vote for them. Vote for what they stood for and research them a little bit. Have your local guys that do campaigns and stuff, research these guys before you vote for them. These guys are not good guys. They're up there for one reason only. They want to sit in that White House and they want to rule the world. Oh, this one's a really good one. I really like this Representative Stephen Smith, Harvard professor. Okay, that's not him though. I mean, Representative Stephen Smith. He's a good guy. He's on Twitter all the time. And, I can't find fault with a lot of his stances on issues. I think he's a really good guy. And if he happens to be one of your reps, I'd say, protect him with all grace and glory. Here's a Harvard professor. After we remove Trump, we must abolish the Electoral College. What? A Harvard professor wants to abolish the very basics of our election system. That tells you what's coming down, what's going on in schools. Kids are being brainwashed by these morons. I call them educated idiots because that's what they are. They know less about the Constitution than your average housewife. Let's see what else we got here. Well, some of the memes are really cute today. You get President Trump, and under the caption it says, Trump steals black baby. People, they're making fun of CNN, because CNN is turned into just, an abomination of news. And there's so many of them out there anymore. If you want the real news, I suggest you look for real news sources. And they're your offbeat guys that really scan the papers and really do the research on them. Lisa is one of them, and Mark Dice is another one. Bill Still is another one. Alex Jones, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham. I mean, you don't have to pay attention to the news media anymore, because there's enough of us out there that actually sit down and do the research on some news stories that's making claims against our president or other good people for that matter. There's another really good patriot, David A. Clark Jr. He was the sheriff over in Milwaukee. He recently retired. Congratulations, David. And I hope your book is going well. He's a good one to follow, too, because he's been a Trump supporter since the beginning. I'd like to see him somewhere in the administration, but he does really good on the outside, like Sebastian Gorkel does, or Steve Bannon, since he's back at Breitbart News.
2381 treason U.S. Code. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason. That is the code. The American people are sick of it. This country rose up against you recently. The ratio, hang on, I have a right of free speech, I can finish. The American people opposed the going to war with Syria, which includes many Marines and other veterans by the thousands, was 499 to 1. That is 99% of the people of this country. So if you and the rest of this government are truly for the American people and representatives of us, I suggest this time you listen because nobody wants another war or strike in Syria or anywhere else. Bring our brothers and sisters home. I am truly disgusted that you people are my leaders.
That was to John McCain at one of his town hall meetings, and the whole time he's just shaking his head and acting like, oh, I'd love to just punch you in the face. John McCain is probably one of the biggest American traitors there ever was, and I'm beginning to doubt that he had brain cancer at all. I think he used it as a ploy to get sympathy when he turned down the repeal of Obamacare. He just thought he was so special. Goes over there and turns his thumb down. I thought, you know, if I was in that room, I'd kick you so hard you wouldn't die of brain cancer. You'd die of a brain aneurysm, because I'd crush your fucking skull. You know, he is probably one of the worst dirtbags in Washington, 30 years. You know, him, Pelosi, Schumer, Adam Schiff, Harry Reid. If you want to talk crooks in a Congress, you don't have to look no further than the Democrats, because I have yet to find one. You know, Maxine Waters, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris. What a vile bunch of people. They are just absolutely vile. Okay, Vegas, 4 rights. Here are these poor moms protesting outside of Speaker Ryan's house. Their children were brutally slaughtered and burned to death by Dreamers. And, you know, I understand that. And I understand why we must end the DACA program and build the wall. And Congress is going to try to hold up immigration reform, and they're going to try to hold up the border wall. They're going to try to hold up tax reform. And remember, like I said earlier, there are 23 Democrats up for re-election this year, or this next year, 2018. And the closer it gets to that time, you're going to watch these guys flip-flop like Pop-Tarts, trying to figure out how to shore up a base so that they can stay in office. But these vile Democrats, and quite a few Republicans in my book, and there's 9 of those up for re-election too. Maybe it's time to send 23 and 9 home. I mean, that's half of Congress. We could send in 23 and 9 new Constitution Party members to Congress, and you would see a different America in the next 10 years. It would be totally different. It would be as close to our founding fathers as they intended us to be. But as it's been 40 years of corruption, and President Trump is up against, you know, a lot of backwash from a lot of these guys. You know, the swamp doesn't want to be drained. There's no doubt about that. And they're doing everything they can, you know, with this special counsel Mueller. This is a joke. His entire clan of lawyers all worked for the Clintons or the Bushes or Obama. Now tell me they're not going to, you know, suddenly say, oh, well, we found nothing and walk away. They want to keep their jobs. They owe a lot of debt. How do you think they made those big positions that they've gotten and landed big jobs in law firms? You know, because people pulled strings and got them into those positions. And now you've got one coming out of New York, you know, the place that freaking absolutely hates Trump and is a Schumer supporter. The whole thing reeks of corruption. And I'll tell you, if they even try to impeach President Trump, they are going to end up with a war. These guys are going to be afraid to start their cars in the morning, because there's militia out there in the country, and they won't take this lying down. This is a good one here, and it's a meme, and it's got Elijah Cummings on the front of it. What do you call 68 Democrats choosing not to participate in government? A good start. That's what they've been doing. For 7 months, the Democrats have not participated in government, and we should be demanding that their pays stop when they do this. They should have to return 7 months of pay for not participating in Congress for the last 7 months. Also, we need to make them stop getting their Obamacare paid for. 77% of their medical expenses are paid by us, the taxpayers. Now, I can't get 77% of anybody to pay for my health care. And I think that would be one of the first things I did right now with executive order again, is I would pull Congress's subsidies, period. And I have to, this one here is pretty powerful, and I think it's dead on. This meme: once you advocate killing cops, you are not protesters. You are now terrorists. And we need to make sure that Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all of these little fledgling idiots are classified as terrorists. They go out, they destroy statues, they burn houses and buildings and cars. That's terrorism. And it needs to be classified as one. And I think Trump giving back our cops the military equipment that they want to combat these guys is a great idea. I've never been for militarization of our police force, but when you're up against these kind of people, what can you do? You can't send your husband in to battle some guy with a baseball bat with nails in it, you know, without the proper uniform and a way to protect himself.